Welcome to KinderCare Cooks, where today we'll be making a recipe for Three Sisters stew that works well for both summer and winter vegetables. This recipe was inspired by the story of the Three Sisters as told through the traditional stories of the Native American tribes of the Iroquois Nation. At KinderCare, we hope to feature this recipe on one of our upcoming menus. If we do use this recipe, we will be making ours with fresh zucchini instead of the butternut squash for today's recipe. We'll still be using our canned beans, and we'll also be using a frozen corn just like today. We'll also substitute in salsa in place of the diced tomatoes. With exposure to hands-on gardening activities in KinderCare centers, Native American beliefs, foods, and customs can enhance children's understanding of where food comes from and how planting and eating certain plants together can create a healthy, balanced garden and healthy, balanced eating. In the story of the Three Sisters Gardens, children learn about the three important indigenous food crops, corn, beans, and squash, and how intentional garden design helps these three plants thrive as they rely on one another for growth. Many of our KinderCare centers have outdoor gardens, and your child may come home talking about the fun things that they did in the garden. Gardening doesn't have to be a big thing. It could start with one small container with some herbs, or maybe you have some window boxes that you could plant a few seeds in with your child. If you belong to a local community garden, that's another option for getting your kids and you out in the soil. So it doesn't have to be a major thing, just make it work for you and your family. Let's go to our KinderCare cam to check out a KinderCare center's garden. This center has a lot of lettuces, strawberries, and even some spearmint growing in their garden. Preparing and cooking foods grown in the garden helps children connect growing food with eating nutritious foods that come from nature. In fact, some good news for families is that the research supports the idea that children who participate in hands-on gardening education are more likely to try and eat the foods that they have had a hand in growing. So if you want your kids to love veggies, gardening can be a real help in this area. Kids as young as 1 year old can participate in gardening. They can push seeds into the soil, they love to help sprinkle water on the seeds, and they can also learn about gardening through stories. Your older children can participate too. They can prepare the soil for planting, tending the plants, harvesting, and then of course incorporating garden produce into healthy recipes. Okay, so we're ready to make our stew. Come join me over at the stove and we'll get started with our ingredients. So we're gonna start with a tablespoon of olive oil. You could also use avocado oil. I think that's a really nice oil to use when sauteing. And then we're gonna put in our onions. This is one medium onion chopped. So we're gonna add that in. And we're gonna let that cook. So while we're waiting for that, I'm just gonna take a quick minute to talk about the squash that we're using today. Today's recipe, we're using a butternut squash, which is sort of a fall or a winter squash, but you can also use zucchini, which is a summer squash, so really any type of squash. So you can hear our onions are sizzling. We'll just give those a little stir. And when we've got those going, we're gonna add 2 cloves of garlic. I have this finely chopped, but you could also put it through a garlic crusher. So that works well. And of course now it's really starting to smell great. And when that starts to smell really fragrant, then you can add your next ingredient. And right here we've got 1 can of diced tomatoes, and we're using the juice that's in the tomatoes, so go ahead and just use all of that in the can. This is a really great recipe because really you could use fresh, frozen, or canned items. So we've added our tomatoes. That forms the base of this recipe. And then we're gonna start putting in our Three Sisters items. We've got our corn. I used a frozen corn, but again, canned or fresh would work just as well. And then we're gonna use a red kidney bean. These were canned. They're drained and rinsed. You could also use a black bean or a pinto bean. So we'll add that in there. I just like to pick things that have different colors so that you have all these different pretty colors in here. And then we're gonna add our squash. This is about 2 to 3 cups of cut up butternut squash. Three Sisters Stew is a great example of how cooking with your children can help them understand our shared interconnectedness with both people and nature. From hands-on exploration in the garden to helping cook the foods they see on their plate, children can engage all their senses to understand where healthy food comes from while learning about the people who help shape sustainable food systems from the past through to present. If you want to learn more, we include a link to our guide in creating healthy habits through gardening in the episode details. From window box gardens to backyard planning, it's a great resource for your family to begin growing together. Now back to the stew. This is a one-pot meal, pretty simple. We're going to bring it up to a boil and then we'll turn it down to a low simmer, put the lid on and let it cook for about 25 to 30 minutes or until the squash is soft if you poke it with a fork. And that's how you make a Three Sisters stew. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If any of you are gardening at home, comment below and tell us about your garden. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you never miss a moment in the kitchen with us. Thanks so much for joining, and we'll see you next time.